We coming up on it, baby. We on the cusp. They falling down, baby. We going up. Tell me you ready, baby. I wanna hear it. Tell me you ready. Off out the moving, baby. It's a redemption. Most High Christ and said I really can't take nothing from it. World can't do nothing for me, can't take nothing out of it, none of it. So I just been doing all the things I needed to do to live in the sky.
Today we're headed to Elmina Castle and Cape Coast. The Door of No Return is a historical site found at Cape Coast Castle, or Wida, and Wida means Judah. It marks the location where enslaved Africans were shipped off to the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade. It's a somber reminder of this painful history. These doors serve as a powerful visual and emotional representation of the enslavement process and the forced separation from their homeland. Visiting these locations can be a deeply moving experience, allowing people to connect with the history of the transatlantic slave trade and the suffering of those who were enslaved.
Shalom. Is y'all paying attention to this? Can you smell what he cooking? While the people who have been frowned upon, the poor, oppressed, honor minority, persecuted and deemed the lowest in the earth for finding out that they are actually the chosen people of the Most High God, finding the truth. The ones who have, on the other hand, had stature and dominion in the earth at the same time. They're having their confidence shaken to the core right now. In this system that they done had all their faith in. At the same time, though. The tables is turning. Oh yeah, baby, it is what it look like. Get that part. They're crumbling down. Get that part.
Hello everyone, it's me, Journey to Zion, and I am live at the Cape Coast Castle, Slave Castle, where our ancestors were taken on cargo slave ships. And as you can see, it's very ancient. You can see all of the cannons behind me. It was like a fort. So it's all the cannons. And then behind me is the Atlantic Ocean where we were placed in the boats. And then on this side, all the cannons at the fort. I'm here with my daughter Alex and our driver who is giving us a tour. I gotta stay strong. I gotta stay very strong. In slow motion, you can almost hear the slaves, men and women, crying out, trying to free themselves. The locals say that there is a such thing as Elmina ghosts, and the Elmina ghosts refer to the historical significance and haunting nature of Elmina Castle in Ghana. Elmina Castle, built by Portuguese traders in 1482, served as a major slave trading post. The horrors and trauma endured within the walls of the castle have led some to believe in a lingering presence or ghost associated with the site.
So I just been doing all the things I needed to do to live in the sky. Ain't never been no gain to me. I came in the truth to get right and die. So you been seeing me showing that love, steadily focusing on up above, telling you things that you didn't want to hear, but it really will pull you up out of the mud. We going up. Looking at the world, knowing it's temporary. Oh, it's temporary. Built upon blood, grand by the adversary. Make no mistake, they got a lot on their plate, more than we got on our plate. We got the day, put all the folly away, baby, then we gon' be straight. We going up, barely we got it. They're coming down, look at them dropping, they can't go to work. Ooh, that's a problem, cause they got this money and living they wallet. But we know how to go be broke. That vaccine gon' be all she wrote. Keep that bug out back by the door. Into the pilgrimage we go. Into the wilderness we go. Yeah, Exodus for sure. Yeah, sacred all on let's roll. We've been waiting, we've been anticipating. We've been waiting, prophesying unto the wind on the daily. Teaching daily. Nobody believe. We've been out here looking crazy. Let the tables turn. Let the tables turn. Let's get it together, baby. Yeah, we going up. Cause we going up. We going up. Going up. We going up. Going up. Yeah, yeah. Going up. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Been down on the bottom so long. Going up. Going up. Ain't never gonna come back down no more. Going up. 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 Yeah, yeah. Going up. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Been down on the bottom so long. Going up. Going up. Ain't never gonna come back down no more. Going up. 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 Yeah, yeah. Going up. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Been down on the bottom so long. Going up. Going up. Ain't never gonna come back down no more. Going up. Going up. We going up.
Hey, okay.
Whew.
So we can record and take pictures and everything.
Afterwards?
for the tour. And we'll have like 20, 30 minutes. to
Oh,
do
okay,
it.
okay, okay.
So, you can take pictures.
Okay.
Thank you. And that's why.
You said before the
The
tour?
one you heard the other one beforehand. This is the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest. So we
I
can
would say
take
that would make
any
sense.
pictures from now, then on
Mm-hmm.
the tour. You continue taking pictures till we finish.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
trying to get some main little stuff on the inside.
You can be here, then outside. Should I use your phone?
Okay, here.
Yours is better.
Yeah, you
But her camera is good too.
you want to do this one?
And so in all 5 chambers, about 752,000 held in here at a time. In here, they did everything here. They urinate, they go to toilet, they sleep in here, and sometimes they were fed in here. And so at a point in time, the excrement or the waste mixed out with sand covered the whole chamber. This was because when the domestic chamber heated up to a level like this in the dungeon, archaeologists came in here in 1974 to excavate this very chamber. And after the excavation, out of curiosity, he needed to carry the samples for testing. And after testing scientifically, it proved that everything he took from here was the urine, toilet, particles, sweat of the ancestors that mixed up with sand and solidified all over the chamber. And so it was only after the excavation we saw the bricks. The bricks happened to be the original floors of the dungeon. But before he excavated, he was not seeing the bricks. That's why, out of curiosity, he carried the samples for testing. And so the dungeons or the floors were made up of bricks. But when you look to the side, you can't see any brick there. So this place was like this. And so he excavated to see the bricks, and he left a sample. And so when you look closely to this side, you can't have a close look. You can't see the bricks from this side, but to where we are standing, you can see the bricks. And so he left this one here to show to tourists as evidence that indeed the whole place was covered with the waste, and he excavated and left this portion together with the other chambers, second to the fifth chamber, left unexcavated to show to tourists as evidence. And so some tourists do come in, they doubt. If they doubt, the samples were left in here so that they can also take samples and test for themselves. And so excrement of the ancestors that covered the whole chamber. After I will show you the level of the waste. You can see trenches of small gutters, some to the walls, the main one to the main. So the purpose of the trench was to wash away some of the waste into the sea. And so they were expecting rainwater to come in through the 3 holes into the dungeons to wash away some of the soluble waste into the sea. And the question is, how many times will the rainwater even come in? The rain only comes when the wind blows to this direction. Aside that, no rain enters the dungeon. And even when the rain enters the dungeon, there are little amount of rain that will come in here. Wouldn't have any pressure to even wash any waste. Here was purposely created for those who are psychologically and physically strong. So this happens to be the strong group. And so most of them, they try to prove aggressive when the Europeans enter the dungeons. And so when they try to fight them, when they caution them, they still try to fight them. They'll bring them here. They lock them up in chains and shackles. And so when the chains are locked up to the walls and the captives are locked to the chains, movement will be very difficult for them in here. And after they shut the door in here. And so among the 5 chambers, it was only this chamber that had a door, the rest had no doors. And so this was purposely for those who were psychologically and physically strong. And when they keep on fighting them or proving to be aggressive, we take them out of here into the condemned cell. They kill them totally from there. So throughout the talk, we shall also visit the condemned cell.
Going up, yeah, been down on the bottom so low. Going up, ain't never gonna come back down no more. Going up, we going up. I knew that they would come carry my flesh away. That's why I put all my faith in the spirit so they could take this body today. Can't do nothing but send me right back to my father with open arms. He wait already done brought my soul to peace. Give me what I need before I can pray. So important to me.
Last chamber. And so 9 men, serving as their only source of light and ventilation for over 1,000 people a year. And so when we move up to the governors' residence, we shall make a comparison of the dungeons to where the governors or the officials were living. The name of the church society for the propagation of the gospel. The question is, what kind of gospel were they propagating up here? And so church sits right on top of the dungeon. It is not a coincidence or a mistake that the church sits on top of the dungeon. During that period, the churches were also involved in the transatlantic slave trade.
And as you can hear through what he was saying, in Cape Coast Castle, the church sits directly over the male dungeons, and the parishioners could look down at the captives. And as most of us know, religion was used to justify the rape of women slaves captive in the castles. It was decided by the church in the castles owned by Portuguese, Dutch, and English, and even Swedish rulers, that sex was a human necessity. Governors had special balconies where they would stand and observe female slaves stuffed in the dungeons below. They would select the women they wanted to be with from the groups suffering. If women didn't comply, they would be strapped to a cannonball by their ankles.
So this happens to be the main one. The middle one we saw in the first chamber. It connects through to these chambers, to the last chamber, and straight into the sea. So this happens to be the trench, but to this side we are seeing additional bricks. These bricks are far away from the trench. It's not part of the gardens. This is part of the floors. And so this is to show that indeed the floors were made up of bricks. And so if they are to excavate this place, we shall see the bricks lying all over, which happens to be the original floors of the dungeon. But currently, everything we are working on is the waste of the ancestors. So there are some of the traces of the bricks to this side. So how you can check it. So the floors were all made up of bricks. And currently, we are on the extreme of the And when we look around, there is no light in here, no bulbs here, no electricals in here. So they created this place in such a way that when the ships are in, they are coming to move the slaves, they will get natural light to sort the slaves out. And so here they sorted them out, the weaker ones from the stronger ones. The weaker ones are placed in this small room, just like the quarantine for nurses and doctors to check out on them. Just like how we also came. So they will journey through the underground tunnel. About 80 meters from here, they will exit. When they exit, the females will join them. They go through the door of no return. But in 1807, there was a law passed in Britain for the abolition of the slave trade, looking at how inhuman the trade was. But the trade continued in here until 1834. Captain George McLean, he was an administrator in the castle and the president of the slave merchants. He was commanded to supervise the blockade of the tunnel to finally mark the end of the slave trade. And so the tunnel blocked in 1834, and we dedicate the blockage to the souls of the ancestors. And so today we can't go through, but when you move outside, I will show you a portion of the underground tunnel. This happens to be chains that were used for the exhibition similar to what they were using in here. Okay, so this one was used for exhibition. But after the excavation in the first chamber, you saw some of the chains in there. But that one was held in the museum. And currently the museum is undergoing renovation. So they have moved all the artifacts away. But after the renovation, they will bring it back. So this was used for an exhibition. Very similar to what we used. Very good. If no question, you step out, you continue from the grave side.
Okay.
Before you end the tour, I'll make reference to this. So when they died, they buried them in here. But when the Africans died, I made mention the bodies go straight into the ocean. No.
The left tomb with letters L period, E period, L period is the grave of Letitia Elizabeth Landon. She was the wife of the British governor George Maclean and died on Cape Coast Castle on the 16th of October, 1838, under puzzling, never-enlightened circumstances of a prussic acid. And right beside her grave was one of the only black men buried at Cape Coast Castle. His name was Philip Kweku. Kweku was an African priest, missionary, and educator in Cape Coast, a city in Gold Coast, now called Ghana. Born in 1741 in Cape Coast, Kweku was a part of the hybrid cosmopolitan society that grew up in the shadows of the large European trading forts, like Cape Coast Castle. He was a relative of one of the local political elites who helped secure for him schooling in London. He was probably of a Fanti or Fetu ethnic background, as his name, Kweku, is one given to a male child born on a Wednesday. Because of his African heritage and English training, Kweku stood at the intersection of two different cultural, religious, and racial worlds. When Kweku was a child, Anglican missionaries under the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, SPG, began to expand their effort in Gold Coast, eventually with an eye to recruit African missionaries. With help from family connections, the SPG chose to send Kweku to London for schooling in religious and missionary work. He stayed so long in London that he forgot his native tongue, but returned to Cape Coast in 1766, married to an English woman and newly ordained as an Anglican priest. For the next 5 decades, he worked to promote the Anglican faith in Gold Coast. Unfortunately, he faced numerous setbacks in his efforts. Many locals were happy to listen to the missionaries as long as they gave out food and drink, but were not interested in converting to Christianity. Kweku was not regularly compensated by either the SPG or the merchant group that ran Cape Coast Castle, so he was forced to barter in the local marketplace for food and supplies. This proved to be more than just inconvenient, as both organizations accused him of either focusing too much on commerce or too little on his mission. While he often wrote that his mission lacked success, Kweku's schools trained a generation of students who would, along with their descendants, rise to prominence in Gold Coast society. In the long run, his work achieved much, and his volumes of correspondence are valuable in the ways they show Gold Coast society from a unique perspective. So again, the graves in the Cape Coast courtyard are those of Reverend Philip Kweku, and beside him lies C.B. Whitehead, the 38-year-old British soldier who was killed by a Dutch soldier in the courtyard. And besides them are the graves of Letitia Elizabeth Landon and her husband, George Maclean, who was the British governor of Cape Coast from 1830 to 1844. And here you see one of the two 18-foot water wells that are found within the brick courtyard of the castle.
They had boreholes in town they were using. This was purposely dug or created for the captives. And so today we have connected pipes to it. And so we store pipe-borne water in here. And when the taps is not flowing in the castle, we pump it from here to the washroom to run the chores in the castle. Each of them is about 18 feet deep, 8 feet wide, approximately about 18,000 gallons each. We shall have a look to the condemned cell. So this was a cell, a condemned cell. So in the first gym I made mention a lot of them were aggressive. So when they enter the dungeons, they will try to fight them. And all those who try to fight them, when they identify them, they caution them, they still try to fight them. They'll bring them here for them. So here, no food, no air, no water. Through suffocation and starvation, the captives will die before the bodies are brought out to serve as deterrent to the rest. After they load the bodies in sacks, put them on boats, paddle to a distance, and they load them off into the ocean. No befitting burial for them in here. And this happens to be the only original door left in the castle. So this is over 200 years old. The door made up of pitch pine wood coated with metal. Aside this door, any door or window you see in here has been changed or restored. The only original door left. This happens to be names of descendants of the slaves. Year of return 2019, some of the descendants of the slaves. They came to visit the castle, and so when they came, they left their names to show stories that indeed they came to visit the ancestors. And so names of descendants of the captives of the slaves.
So here is a plaque where on August 15th through the 24th, 2019, exactly 400 years after the beginning of the Middle Passage, 400 descendants of African slaves, they came back to Ghana, Africa to do a 10-day pilgrimage. And this particular group that did the pilgrimage were members of the African Genesis Institute. And as you see here, all 400 members left their name on the plaque.